So he went to Twitter yesterday afternoon, and here's a bit of what he said in the thread. He said, they all didn't want to listen to me about the start of the season. I knew exactly what would happen, he said. I only wanted to protect the well-being of the players, which ultimately is the product and benefit of our game. These injuries, this is him writing it, isn't just part of the game. It's the lack of pure rest before starting back up. 8, possibly 9 All-Stars have missed playoff games, the most in league history. This is the best time of the year in our league, and fans are missing a ton of our favorite players. It's insane. If there's one person that knows about the body and how it works all year round, it's me. I speak for the health of all of our players, and I hate to see this many injuries this time of year. Sorry, fans. Wish you guys were seeing all your favorite guys right now. He said that about it. Now, a statement from NBA spokesman Mike Bass said this: injury rates were virtually the same this season as they were during the 2019-20 season, while starter-level and all-star players missed games due to injury at similar rates as the last 3 seasons. While injuries are an unfortunate reality of our game, we recognize the enormous sacrifices NBA players and teams have made to play through this pandemic. Guys, the union agreed to start the season, right? They knew, like the players agreed to it. Money was, we all know, a major reason why they couldn't wait till the middle of January. They wanted to get it as early as they could, and they compromised on right around Christmas Day.
Yeah, but as I look at the injuries, they look like basketball-related injuries to me. Guys playing basketball, falling down, bumping knees, LeBron James having somebody fall on him. And I asked you, Jay, and I don't know because I wouldn't think as an athlete and being out on a football field, you get heavy legs throughout the course of the season, but you also are in condition. And what I mean by that is, are your legs so tired and so heavy that you can't move around and therefore you can't get out of the way of people? That's why people are tripping over each other and falling? Or is it just basketball plays? Because there's really hasn't been any soft tissue injuries outside of James Harden that through the season was having trouble that I can think of. Everybody else is like an ankle, a knee, a shoulder.
Yeah, Harden is the conditioning injury because it's the hamstring that he's dealt with since he
even
came to
AD went to the cup. It came down awkward and did something to his groin. So I'm not really sure what LeBron means by it's affecting the play. I'm lost on that one.
Does LeBron have a point? Yes, he does.
Okay.
The reality is that the volume of play for some players, since this has been the shortest offseason in the history of the league, has been a lot more for some players. So if the volume of playing activity is higher, there becomes a higher threshold potentially for injury due to not having your body enough time to actually get rest, right? You're using muscles way more in a shorter span of time.
But who's having muscle issues?
I'm just saying it increases your probability of injury. It does.
I get that part, but when we say...
But let me finish here for a second.
Okay.
So I agree with you. I think a lot more of these injuries are basketball related, right? But at the same time, look, you have to play. Not everybody gets a chance to earn at the top threshold like a LeBron James. You have a lot of guys who are on minimum contracts. And the business aspect of this, and I know LeBron gets this, is that when force majeure happened, when the pandemic happened, a lot of players were forced to leave a portion of their salary in escrow that they would not be able to receive. So the reason why you have the quicker start date is, yes, for TV money, which then allows the players to recoup a lot of the money that will be taken out of escrow to give back to them. So this was a business decision in which throughout the pandemic, we all had to make business decisions, right? Everyday people had to make business decisions. It may not be fair. We may not like it. But this is the reality of the world that we are living in while we are navigating one of the most difficult times our country has seen in a long time, our world has seen.
Can I also point out that, as you mentioned, from when the league stopped in March to when it started back up, it was late July, right, for the bubble?
Yes.
Right? Everybody was doing nothing. So that was your rest. That's what the league will say. That was everybody was resting. Then less than half the league went into the bubble and played. Some only played 8 games. Some then continued on. And when in the case of LeBron and the other stars, how is it any different than when you play in the Olympics? because you don't go, it's not just 2 weeks of Olympics. It's also a couple of weeks before where you go into your training camp, where you play some exhibition, and then you go into the Olympics. So it's a couple of weeks. And then you got about a month, and then you get right back into your NBA season when you have Olympics. So it's a similar type of schedule that is obviously, in where we are, a circumstance that you had to agree to. And the money was the biggest effect here for the players, for the league, for everyone. And so it was a sacrifice that it was first of all, it was a liability that you took on by agreeing to it. So to blame the league for it now, I just feel like it doesn't make sense to create this animosity when it was unnecessary. He's frustrated. Fine. He's frustrated because he's not. What's the motivation behind these tweets? Is he upset that the Stars aren't playing, or is he upset that his injury and AD's injury and he's not playing?
Well, I think it's a collection of all, right? I mean, it's the frustration that we're not playing in it, but I'm also watching other superstars get hurt, but they're getting hurt in basketball-related things. I'm watching basketball plays with my eyes, unless I'm seeing something different, unless I'm just way off base. It just seems like to me, Kyrie Irving coming down on Giannis's ankle had nothing to do with starting early.
And LeBron's injury was a hustle injury.
That guy falling on him had nothing to do with starting early.
Right.
Unless
it was a reckless hustle.
So that type of thinking from LeBron means that Dame shouldn't have committed to playing in the Olympics this year, right? I mean, essentially.
That's a good point.
For anybody that committed
Nikola Jokic is not. And
Understood.
the Nuggets really didn't want him to, so he decided, okay, I'm not going to, because they were concerned about him and his conditioning. So yeah, I mean, look, you can make the case, but it's flimsy.
But why?
It's flimsy, and again, why? If you're frustrated by it, that's one thing. But to blame the league, you're all to blame because you all agreed to do it.